Hi guys, I'm Nette, I'm Rhonda,
And
welcome to
Okay, yep.
Okay, do it again. Hi guys, I'm Nette, I'm Rhonda, and welcome to When Morning Comes.
What's the name of the show?
Hi guys, I'm Nette, and I'm Rhonda, and welcome to When Morning Comes.
Scream, cry, yell, why did it have to happen? It hurt so bad. You thought the pain would never end. We've come to share some hope and help you realize the sun will rise again. That's when morning.
Good morning again. We are back for episode number 3. Rhonda, we are on episode number 3.
It does not
Can
feel
you
like
believe that?
No, it doesn't feel like we've done 3 already now.
I know.
And the
but
people still with us.
they still with us. Thank y'all so much. Like, seriously, thank y'all so much because we have, again, received a lot of comments, support, your messages. Every time the episode goes off, I'm always calling Rhonda, like, Rhonda, come in. Because people just blowing up our phones, texting, saying how much they've enjoyed the episode, even the live comments while the episode is going. Like, that really gives us a lot of, like, push.
Instant feedback.
Yeah. So thank y'all again so much for tuning in. Again, if you're a first-time viewer, we would like to just remind you that this podcast simply is here for the grievers and those that support grievers. And for those of you that are tuning in for the 3rd time, welcome back.
Welcome back.
We're here. We're still here on our roller coaster, this roller coaster of grief, where you have the supporters of the grievers that are sitting beside the actual grievers, and you have the grievers that's riding on the seat, maybe hoping one day that they can reach morning and get off.
That's right.
So we're just here. We're here for everybody. Like I said, it's for the supporters. It's for the grievers. It's for any and everybody. And if you're somebody that's never grieved before or have experienced grief, it's here for you too. Because maybe, or unfortunately, I hope that you don't have to, but maybe one day, if you have to experience grief, then this podcast will be here to help you with that. So we just thank you again. We thank you all for tuning in. If this is your first time again, go back. Look at episode 2, look at episode 1, catch up, and then come back to episode 3 and put it all together, and it should make sense to you, you know. Is that right?
That's right. That's right.
So we thank you. We're going to go into our morning news. Again, well, we don't have to say be mindful or be respectful because y'all have been.
Yes, they've been good, Nette. They have
y'all been on it.
They have been good. We don't have to ask.
We don't have to ask, Rhonda. Like, we ain't had to come out the bag. We ain't had to snap off. They've been doing pretty good.
It's so sweet.
And I want y'all to continue to do that each and every time. Like I say, that you comment on one of our pages, on the When Morning Comes pages, on the YouTube page. Like, it just feels and warms our hearts. So continue to do that. Continue to do that. Also, we want to introduce our amazing March episode sponsor.
Yes.
He is Mr. Terrence Friday. Terrence is a CBS news anchor from Detroit. Give it up for Terrence. See, I want to tell y'all kind of how I know Terrence. We're not going to go into that because I'll be here all year. But just know Terrence is a huge supporter of When Morning Comes. He's a huge supporter of Rhonda, of myself.
For a long time.
I love Terrence. I'm going to say that. So listen, thank you so much, Terrence Friday. Go and check them out on the CBS News app as well as the Pluto TV app if you want to catch Terrence or anybody else that's a CBS News anchor. So other than that, I think that's wrapping up our morning news. Thank you all, everybody that sponsored this episode, not just the episode sponsor, but became a donor. We thank you so much. And everybody.
If they would like to be a sponsor. Don't forget that.
I was finna forget that.
Don't forget that.
If you would like to become a sponsor or a donor of When Morning Comes, you can email us at whenmorningcomes22@gmail.com. Or you can just inbox us, you know, and say you would like to be a donor. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up our morning news and our introduction. So What you got, girl?
Well, I did want to do a little recap of our last episode. On episode 2, we did a discussion. Well, we had a small audience because it was a Galentine type of event to have a community of ladies here who were also grievers.
Oh yeah. Speaking of that, you know, the people started asking about merch. They loved our sweatshirts.
Listen,
we missed out
right after the episode, and sometimes during the episode, during some of the comments, we kept saying, "We want a shirt, we want a sweatshirt." Well, listen, we may be able to do that. Just stay tuned. We're not sure yet, but we may be able to do that coming up. But during this episode, we had ladies here who were grievers, ladies who were supporters of us during our grief, and we just wanted to have a little Galentine event because the episode was entitled Love and Mourning, and we wanted to talk about love and how it connects with grief. One of the things that we talked about was that grief is love with nowhere to go. And so as we talked about it, we used the acronym of LOVE to guide our episode and discuss the difference between grief and mourning. And briefly, we talked about grief being the inward feelings that you experience after the loss, and then mourning being the external reactions or responses to those things that to the loss, for lack of better words.
And a lot of people didn't know that there was a difference between grief and mourning. And a lot of people didn't know that we try to kind of like, in our grieving, we want to try to get to mourning.
Get to mourning, yes.
And so a lot of people didn't know, like, I didn't understand it. But when y'all explained it to us, it made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So
and that's really why we said we wanted to title the podcast When Mourning Comes. So often we get into a period of grief to where we're dealing with the internal aspects of it, to the sadness, the depression, the crying, to where we kind of get stuck. And a lot of people told us that after that episode that they didn't realize that they were still stuck in some of those areas. And so helping, listening to some of the things that we would talk about in our own experiences is helping them navigate and move through this journey. So as we talked about the difference between grief and mourning, and inward feelings and external feelings, we started also talking about how as you go through this roller coaster, there comes a time when, the people have stopped bringing cakes to your house. Okay. The people are no longer bringing 12 packs of drinks and calling, often saying, "Are you okay? Is there anything I can do for you?" And it's not just only when you are experiencing a loss of an actual person or a death, because grief is not just
it's not just for death; it's for divorces,
any kind of
friendships,
loss.
relationships, any type of loss. But before we started talking about like experiencing that moment where, the people stopped calling and everything. Remember, second episode, we talked about the people that do surround themselves around us, which is why we emphasize love on that last episode, because you receive love and support during your grief. And that's why we honored our best friends other people that has been on this journey with us, because please believe we're still on this journey. Like we haven't stopped. We haven't reached a point to where we no longer grieve or mourn or whatever you would like to call it. We are still on this journey. It's just the podcast is helping us through it. So on this journey, we have people that surround us and care for us and love on us. But also on this journey, we have a lot of people that have stopped completely. And we started experiencing what we call the mourning afters.
Yes. And that's exactly where we are today. We want to talk about the mourning afters. Like I said, the cakes have stopped coming. The pies have stopped being dropped off. The drinks have stopped. People are not calling. And it is now still.
Yeah.
And it's the morning after. And you start realizing that there are so many other pieces that you are now grieving. It's not just the actual initial loss, but then there are so many other losses and things that you didn't realize was going to come along with the grief. So today we want to talk about some of those things that we experienced that were additional losses.
Yeah.
One of the things that sticks out to me the most, if I were to talk about an additional loss that was an unexpected loss as it relates to this, is I lost my, how do I want to put it? my sense of security,
Mhm.
I guess, my sense of self. And what I mean by that, like, I'm a late mom.
A late
Okay?
bloomer.
I didn't have I'm not gonna tell you how old I am, but my daughter just turned 8 yesterday. Okay, and most of the people that are my age, they have children that are now in college.
Yeah.
That have graduated. Some of them have graduated from college, some of them graduated from high school. My baby is 8,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of my cousins and other family members and friends, as they were raising and rearing their children, they had their mom, to call and say, well, hey, her nose running. What do I do?
Yeah.
She fell and scraped
Yeah.
her ankle, whatever.
Yeah.
So what do I do? And so when mama left, I already didn't know what I was doing as a mom, but I really didn't know what I was doing after that. Like, I couldn't call her to say, she has a temperature of this. Is this the temperature that I need to give her medicine on, or is this a temperature that I just need to let it ride out?
Yeah.
I didn't have those things. And not only did I not have those things, even if mama couldn't give me no real concrete answer, the idea that I could call
Was just enough.
it was enough for me.
Yep.
And even if she say, well, baby, I really just don't know. Well, why don't you try this? I'm gonna try that.
Yeah. And
because she
seemingly
said.
somehow it worked because
worked.
mama said it. Mama said it worked, it's gonna work. And the crazy thing is, not only were you grieving the loss of your mother, but now you're having to grieve, the loss that your child is experiencing.
that's
So
what
you have to grieve for her, and then you have to grieve, for you. So now you're grieving for the both of you, and that's just...
And I couldn't grieve for her.
Yeah.
And see, and anybody that knows my child knows that she is a very empathetic. She's
intuitive.
very intuitive. She's very smart. She's gonna pay attention to everything. So I can't grieve for her. I have to be able to hold space for her so that she can grieve for herself.
Yeah.
But I also have to be able to answer any questions that she has, or, oh, well, mom, why did she have to leave? Or mom, where she's gonna just the question she asked just the other day. She's just gonna be in heaven forever? Like, she's just gonna be in the sky forever? Like,
I bet mama bored. That's what she said. I bet mom bored.
Mama, so she's just not gonna be able to do the same things that she used to do.
Yeah.
I bet you she bored. I said, well, baby, I don't think she's bored.
Yeah.
But it's
she ain't
those
bored.
kind of things that I did not realize that I was going to have to be available for. Still show up. Mom passed in January. My baby's birthday was in March. I wanted to be under a rock. Okay?
She wanted to go check your cheek.
I did not want to do
So how do
any
you
of that.
do a happy medium?
How do I be okay with knowing that normally mama would have been celebrating this birthday with us. Normally she would have had on the matching t-shirts. We're going to get a t-shirt.
We're going to get a t-shirt.
And now 2 months in and she's not.
Yeah.
But I still got to put on the smile and put on the face to say, I got to show up to help you celebrate your birthday. So that's another piece of loss. That's another piece of grief that I didn't realize that I was going to have to experience.
Yeah. And that was one of your unexpected losses. But of course mine was, and we've mentioned in past episodes, was the loss of my childhood home.
Oh, girl.
So
not just your hour.
I'm sorry.
Don't
I keep
do
saying
that.
I'm sorry.
Don't do that. I live there too.
I'm sorry, Bookie. You love your home too. But no, like, okay, so I was still staying with mom during the time when we lost her. So for those of you that don't know, just a small, brief little story. Mama had been renting this home for years.
Almost 30 years.
Almost 30 years. Mm-hmm. No particular reason why she was renting it. She just felt the need to want to continue renting it. Well,
it was working for her.
It was working for her.
Right.
That was comfortable for her. Mm-hmm. Maybe 2 or 3 months before she passed, mama decided, I want to be a homeowner. Mm-hmm. What? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. We're thinking you thinking about another house.
Let's go buy a house.
Hunting. I want to own this house. For what? And listen,
I was about to say, give a little piece.
Here's the thing.
Because said for what?
Rhonda said last time she wasn't gonna tell y'all where we come from,
we
where
don't
we
have to
stayed.
say the name.
We ain't gonna say the name, but if you know where we stayed, you know where we stayed. Like the people say, if you know, you know.
On the west side.
On the west side of Jackson. I love the west side of Jackson. I'm a proud product of the west side of Jackson.
We're not changing anything.
However, I wanted mama to,
Things have changed.
Things have changed.
Across the state. We won't just say West Side and on down. Things have changed. And
it's not that I didn't want mama to stay in the West Side of Jackson, because we could have. Just not that particular home. I didn't want that to be her forever home, if I make a sense.
Yeah,
okay, so
on.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when she told us, we were like, okay. But mama, whatever you want, you get.
Mm-hmm.
So mama was doing everything she could to buy this house. And it seems like she was running into so many issues, even up to the day she left here. Mama, it was a big issue with that house. Mm-hmm. Mama was to sign off with to close on that house that Monday. Mm-hmm. She passed that Saturday. Mm-hmm. Now here's the thing. Mama passed that Saturday. And so now I'm sitting here and I'm like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? And not to say that I couldn't, because I'm a grown woman. I couldn't, go and move on my own. But it was just so sudden that I wasn't planning for that.
Right.
Mama passed, and then the people that owned the home was like, yeah, I'm so sorry. We loved her so much. She was just a proud member of our West Jackson Association. But please pack y'all stuff up and be gone.
Now, they didn't say it like that. Now, don't do that Now, they did give us quite a short amount of time.
Rhonda want to butter it up.
Well, they didn't just say, get your stuff and get
they
out.
said, you guys will need to be gone.
In about 2 weeks. Uh-huh. That's right.
Now, mind you, we planning the service. We haven't really understood the fact that we lost our mama. Mm-hmm. They want us gone. So now I'm packing up again 20-something years of stuff. Mm-hmm. I gotta sort through my mama's stuff.
I was about to say, not just your stuff, but it's mama's stuff.
My stuff?
Yes.
Where are we gonna put it?
That's right.
What are we gonna do? And then they came and asked us, well, do y'all want to keep the house? No, absolutely not. I never wanted the house to begin with. I'm sorry. No.
Now, look, they didn't ask us, did we want to keep it like they was going to give it to us?
Yeah.
We still was going to have to go
through the process of buying the house. So in all of that, losing mama, which was unexpected, you know what I'm saying? So I'm expecting to be sad, to grieve, to be hurt, to be disappointed. I'm not expecting to now have to uproot my entire life in 4 or 5 days.
And mama didn't own that house. So we didn't have, how some people, their moms have owned their house, they bought it, and so they can always go back to mom's house, or they can decide, well, we're going to keep this house in the family, and it'll always be somewhere we can go back to.
Yeah.
We didn't have
that. We didn't have anywhere to go back to. Mm-hmm. So now it's like we have to sit down and figure out, what do we want to keep? How much of it do we want? Do you know how hard that was? Mm-hmm. To the point to where it got so blurry to us. We were like, and it's gonna sound so pack her clothes up that she had on, put it in a suitcase, and then grab her wig and pack. We didn't know, we didn't know what to pack up, and we're laughing, but it wasn't funny then. But it
wasn't funny, but that was what was important to us at that moment.
That's what was important to us. Get the wig, get this, get that. 'Cause now we can have that to remember her by. But it's that's what unexpected loss will cost you. You can't think straight. So,
and not just that, it was just layers. And I didn't even expect to go here today, but I just have to say this: it's layers of additional losses. We're cleaning the house. We saying get what's most important. The rest may just have to be given away to Goodwill or, whoever may need these things or whatever. But then, do you remember? We are cleaning the house, and we had been cleaning and giving things away for the entire week. And it was after the service. Yeah. So we're going every day, and we're trying to do little by little, because we only have 2 weeks. We take 2 or 3 days off to say, you know what, we need to take a break. We need to get our minds together. We're not going to go back for 2 to 3 days, and we'll finish up. We had gotten everything in the front room. So it was just one final little go back and sweep through. We had gotten ourselves prepared to have a final moment to grieve this house. We've been living in this house for 20-something years. This is where my mom was. This is where we could come and hang out It felt like home. We got to give ourselves the opportunity to just grieve this.
Yeah. And we had set
Get-
ourselves up to like go and like
just
have a
mourn,
moment.
yes.
And kind of like grieve the loss. Okay, we're letting the house go. But we
This
got
is the last time we're going to be able to walk in this house.
We turning the key in today.
We get to the house. Somebody has kicked the door in. Has in 2 to 3 days been squatting in the house.
Made them a camping ground.
They have taken some of the clothes that we were going to give to the Goodwill and created curtains. They done put up curtain areas in the doorway to have a little door between.
Took my $250 makeup chair. That set it up and made them a little dining room.
Had a half-eaten pork chop sandwich still on the stove. So now we're coming in and we can't grieve.
Yeah.
Because the people in West Jackson
have made it their little campground.
And so now we have to grieve the fact that we couldn't even grieve the house.
Yeah.
Because now you got to pull them tears back up.
And call the police.
And report
this. And then now it's like, it was just so much.
It was so much.
It was so many layers after, like on top of losing her, this is what else we had to deal with.
And a lot of people don't realize that those are extra things that come along with the person that you lost.
Yeah.
There's some things that come along with them that are unexpected. The financial burden of having to experience the loss. And when we say loss, we don't want to talk about just, like we said, losing someone to death. But there are financial burdens that come with divorce.
Yeah.
There's financial burdens that come with you losing your job.
Yeah.
You know, any type of grief, there are going to be these layers and layers of additional things that come along that you don't expect. And a financial burden as you are trying to grieve is not what you want.
So our mama was the kind that did not talk about death. And I think that's something that we honestly don't do.
Thing.
Yeah, it's a cultural thing in the African American community. Mm-hmm. We just don't talk about it.
And don't plan for it.
We don't plan for it. Mm-mm. We don't get life insurance policies. We don't talk about it. And unfortunately, when the unexpected happened, then we're left with, we got to go do GoFundMe's or something like that. And I'm not saying it to be a joke, but because it happens. Yeah. Because to be honest, we almost sold some fish plates.
Now let me say this. We weren't selling no fish plates. Right. Our mama did not have insurance. But we were not selling no fish plates. We weren't doing none of that. She was gonna go nicely. Regardless. Let me tell you something.
Mama did talk about it, and she didn't have life insurance. So me and Rhonda was just looked at each other, and we was like, "Hey,
we gotta do what we gotta do.
We gotta do what we gotta do.
We might have to pack our lunch for work for the next 2 years.
We might can't go to Jonathan T's, or we can't go to lunch every day.
Oh God!
But we're gonna have to do what we gotta do, and that's what we did. After the person told us, this is how much it is. We looked at each other. We said, "All
right. Let's do it."
And we paid it. And thank God that we had it. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, GoFundMe, but unfortunately some families have to do that. Mm-hmm. But thank God that we had it. And then even like when we sat down and we talked about how we were going to, I guess, burial. Mm-hmm. How we were going to, another thing that's not talked about is like
cremation.
Mm-hmm. And the crazy thing about it, before she passed, like a couple of weeks before she passed, we talked about cremation and we were like, we would never do that and this, that, and the third. She was like, why would people cremate and this, that, and the third? And then when she passed, me and Rhonda looked at each other and we were like, yeah, we're gonna.
Because it made sense to us.
Because it made sense to us in our process.
At that moment. It didn't make sense 2 weeks ago.
It didn't make sense, yeah.
You know,
but grief altered.
That's right.
That's
right.
And now it made a lot of sense to us to go ahead to cremate her.
And in your grief, you find yourself making decisions that you really didn't think that you would make. Like I said, in that 2 weeks ago, it didn't make sense. But then now it makes perfect sense because you're looking through a different lens.
Yep.
Your vision, your view, your perspective has now been changed altered, to now you're looking through the lens of grief. And everything looks different.
Yes.
And it doesn't make sense to everybody else, but it makes sense to us. People still say, we talk about the office at the house. We've kind of transformed it to look like the living room in mama's house. To some people, that's like, y'all created a a little shrine. But it's like, no, this is what we needed to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
For cremation, our idea of why we needed to do that, because I don't listen, to each his own. But it made us feel good to know Mama's here.
Yeah.
With me.
Because she's always here.
She was always with us.
us.
So she's going to continue to always be with us.
Yes.
And to other people, that might not make sense, but it made sense to us because our viewpoint has now changed. But those are the additional things that come along with grief. Listen, there is also this part that comes to where you don't realize. Well, we kind of talked about it when we did our Galentine's, that, you know, some people that are always going to be there for you. Our best friends was there for us.
Yeah.
And there were several other people that we did not mention that were always there for us. But there are going to be some people that you lose.
Yeah.
There are going to be some friendships and social supports that you lose that you did not expect. You know what I'm saying? You've been friends with these people. You've been surrounded by these people for so long. In your mind, definitely they're going to be here with us for this.
And you never expect to lose them. It's like, why am I having to deal with the loss of you too? Because I lost my mom.
Because I lost my mama.
Like, that makes absolutely no sense to me. So you're upset with me.
Mm-hmm.
You're pulling back. We can have a friendship now because I lost my mom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you know, anything that I'm experiencing, if I have a attitude right now, you've known me long enough to know. Well, it's not particular. You know, it's not Nette.
That's right.
Nette is having an off day.
Mm-hmm.
Nette's having an off day because not only has she lost her mom, Nette no longer has her home.
Mm-hmm.
Nette is also Nette and Rhonda is also having to pay for their mom's funeral.
Mm-hmm.
Nette and Rhonda is also having to figure out their new normal. So this is tough. On top of still having to come to work, I remember coming back to work. And when I came back to work, they put me in a new position where I used to be in like a secluded office. Now they put me out front in front of everybody. I'm at the front desk. And they did that because they feel like, oh, you're always so joyful and you always smile and you're always so happy. You'll be a great person, a great asset to be at the front desk. Well, I was that person before I lost my mom. Now it's 2 months after losing my mama.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to be here.
Let alone smile
for somebody else. So you expect me to be perfect and smile to make your day better when my day is shattering each and every second I'm sitting here because I'm thinking about like just my mama, how I would call her. And so you're wanting me to be on 100. So now you're getting offended when the Nette you saw before, when you used to pass by, hey, Nette, and I used to, what's up? Now I'm like, hey. Now you're getting offended and now you're pulling away. And it's like, why do I have to answer for that? Because I lost my mom.
And it's exhausting.
So it's exhausting. So not only have we lost our home, our childhood home, we lost our mom, we lost our sense of security. Now we're losing friends.
Social supports, people who you thought were going to be there. And this is a part that, and I know we'll probably dedicate a whole episode to this part because there's a second part to what I'm about to say that I want to talk about, but not today. We even lost our church, and here's what I mean by that. We did not go to the same church anymore after we lost our mom for several different reasons. For me, one of the biggest reasons I could not return to the church that we have been in from the time I was about 8.
34 years.
No, not 34.
We lost mama when I was 34. Yeah. 33, 34. Okay. It's been about that much.
I could not return and she not sit in the seat that she used to sit. I didn't know how to handle that. I didn't know how to handle looking in that direction and she's not there. I didn't know how to handle her not being supportive if we're singing or if we're I didn't know how to do that. Like I said, that was one of the reasons. There were several other reasons, some things that were decided and some decisions that were made that didn't feel good. That's the best way I can put it. But But that wasn't the only reason. There were several pieces to that. But
And it
at
was
the end of the
tough.
day, it was tough because that was the only church home that we've known since we were 8.
Yeah. Well, since you were 8, since that's
you
all
were
of my
1.
life, since I
That's
was
right.
1. And so we're church girls, raised, born every Sunday, every Wednesday, every Tuesday in church. Even during COVID, when the churches were shut down, we were going. We had to. We had no choice. Rhonda was minister of music. I was over social media, and we were in the praise scene. So that's all we knew. We knew church. Mama was not going to let us miss church. If we went out the night before as teenagers, I don't care. You can stay up to 3 a.m.
You going to church?
5 a.m. you rising up and you going to be in that choir stand. So that's all we knew. So to also add that to the list of things, unexpected things that we lost, and you expect me to still be the same person and react the same and be normal? And it was like, where is the grace? Where's the grace that we normally give people? Not just mental health clinicians, but the grace as people. You, Rhonda, me, like, I feel like we always give people grace and space to be who they want to be, to live their lives fully, to be as transparent, as vulnerable to us. But it's like now we're in the most vulnerable place in our lives right now. And it's like that grace, that same grace was not extended.
But it's because, like you said, we are always the ones that do extend grace. And because I think a lot of times it's because we are in mental health, we tend to see other people, and if they do something or not do something, we come from a perspective of, oh, I understand why they did it or why they didn't do it, because they are experiencing this or they are experiencing that. Oh, well, he just lost his mom, so if he got an attitude, it's okay.
It's okay.
We weren't given that. And here's the thing. With all of that came, we lost some things, but then we gained some things that we didn't expect to gain. We talked about gaining financial burdens.
Not in a positive gain.
No, in a negative gain. We gained, I have never been more anxious in my life until after I lost mama.
I had always been anxious, but now it's everything. I'm trembling, fear and trembling, having to take fear, having to get on medicine. I've never been on medicine for anything. Mentally. And now I was like, yeah, you probably gonna have to take about 2 or 3 of these.
Not 2 or 3.
Jesus. Just let me be extra. For it to calm you down, because now every little thing works you up. I remember I called Rhonda one morning, and I'm calling her name and she wasn't answering. I don't know if she was asleep or what.
Yeah,
but
asleep.
Yeah. She probably could have been ignoring me. But for that quick second, I'm thinking, oh God, what if I get up and here we go again? Just anything. One day they called me at work and said, we can't find Rhonda. I'm like, huh?
And I was somewhere trying to find a coach.
Can't find her where. They was like, we called her phone.
I left my phone.
She missed the meeting. And immediately my heart just started pounding. I'm like, because it's not her. She's not going to miss a meeting. She's going to answer her phone. I called her. She was like, hey, girl, I'm around here trying to find me a drink. A Coke.
I left my phone on my desk.
And I had to tell them people,
panicking,
don't come around here and do that to me no more, because I'm still on edge. Like fear if it's gonna be me, fear of who will it be next, because like we've said, we've lost so many people, and it's not just the loss of our moms that we're grieving.
That's the piece that I don't think we've ever mentioned.
No,
we talk about grief because we've lost our mom. But we've lost so many other people over our lives. My mom had 12 other brothers and sisters. We have lost 11 of them. 11 aunts and uncles, plus my mom, my dad, your dad, our godmama.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Cousins who were like brothers to us.
Yes.
It was so much.
Yes.
And then you add the additional losses that come along with the house and we've never, look, let me say this. I went back to the church because that was what I was getting ready to say. But then that's just an additional stress and anxiety that comes along with it, because we don't know how to join a church. That sounds so crazy. But we don't know how
that's
to
all I know.
search
That was
for church
home.
homes.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
That was home. So now it's like, what am I looking for? Especially in this day and age, this generation, church is different now. So is it cool to just sit at home and watch TV? Is God gonna be mad at me? Is God gonna be mad if I'm just watching it streaming live? Should I go in person?
And how do you know?
How do I join? How do I know if this is the right
How do you
church?
shop for a new church?
How do you shop for a new church?
We've never had to do
We've
that.
never had to do that.
And here's the thing, had Mom still been alive and she decided that she no longer wanted to be at the church we were at, we would have just gone wherever she went.
Yep.
But this is different.
This is different.
This is totally different. We now have to make that decision solely on us.
Yep.
Well, not, we're going to consult the Lord.
Yeah.
But we didn't even know how to consult the Lord. We never had to ask God, what church I supposed to go to now?
Yeah.
We don't know.
That's gonna be that.
That's going to be another topic,
That's
so
gonna
we
be
can get off
another
of that. Get off
But
of that.
yeah, so
But those are the additional
yeah.
things that you don't realize you have to deal with when grief just pops up.
yeah.
You don't know. You just don't know. We talked about losing your sense of self. We talked about gaining fear, anxiety. We talked about gaining financial burdens.
Insecurities.
Insecurities, your sense of self. So one of the things that people have asked when we talked about this with others is like, so how do you combat those things? What do you do? How do you get to a process of where you're no longer feeling as if you are spiraling, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Or what did y'all do too?
What did y'all do? One thing we had to do was create newness, create a new norm. For example, we lost some of our family traditions when Mom passed away.
Yeah.
One of the things that we would always do on Thanksgiving, she would all of us would get in the kitchen and she would kind of talk us through let me rewind it. All of us would not get in the kitchen.
Thank you.
Me and Mama
Thank you.
and my husband got in the kitchen.
Alfred Nette
would be sitting at the counter cracking jokes while we.
in my phone.
So let me rephrase that. Nette wasn't in the kitchen, but that was a tradition. Mama had got me to where, Rhonda, you gonna do the dressing. My husband would do like the fried turkeys or whatever the case may be. Well, now what do we do?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And just a funny thing that I was like, girl, you did that on purpose. The first Thanksgiving without her, we were panicking.
Yep.
Like, what are we going to do? Mama's not here. I know how to cook the dressing, but I forgot. All of a sudden, everything is gone. And I can't remember the first ingredient, what to buy. We went to her car, and I just know it was God that said, look at her Bible. And Mama had written
the instructions,
the ingredients,
and everything, the ingredients
for the dressing. And I remember it was the Thanksgiving prior because she was at church. She was writing it down because she was telling me to go to the store after we left church.
Yep.
And it was just in her Bible. And I said, you left that for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but after that, we had to find a new tradition because Nette is now in the kitchen.
Uh-huh.
I'm
not at the full capacity.
She might just be stirring up the potato
I'm cutting
salad.
up some, but hey, I'm in the kitchen.
But we had to create a new norm,
Yeah.
a new way of doing things. So how do you get past the fact that you lost your tradition? As hard as it is, create some new.
You have to create new norms.
Create
because
norms.
life as you knew it would no longer be. Like I found myself a lot of times, even still sometimes in therapy, I'll say, I just want to get back to me. Like I just don't feel like me. Like old me would have done X, Y, Z. Well, new Nette don't want to. And while it's so hard to bury her,
That's it.
it has been kind of a joy and a pleasure to reintroduce myself to new Nette. Like to see what Nette, and I'm like kind of liking her. New Nette can say no without feeling any restriction, without feeling bad, without feeling like, oh, they ain't gonna like me. New Nette can accept when somebody walk away because I've lost the most important, of course, besides God.
He ain't going
And one of the most important people in my life. I can lose.
Okay, yeah. Oh, Lord have mercy.
So you get what I'm saying?
I can lose a friendship.
Like a little,
I can lose a friendship.
Like a little small trivial stuff really does not matter anymore. Like in life now is to be enjoyed. So I feel like now learning who I am, that's helping. And so you're going to have to start
That's a new
relearning
thing.
a new thing.
Not relearning, learning for the first time.
Learning for the first time,
Right.
exactly. Who you are. There may be some things that, you used to could handle. You used to have the mental capacity for that new you don't. And that's totally fine. That's totally okay.
I had to learn to become more confident in my decisions. Whereas my initial decisions, I would always base them on what mama said or what mama suggested. But now I got to be more confident in my own decisions. As far as even with raising my daughter, you know, I can't call my mom, but now I have to be okay with, this is the decision you're making. It's a rational decision. It makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Be okay with going through with it. We talked on one episode about how every time you looked up, you was running to the doctor because you thought something was wrong. But now we have to stop and say, you know what? Let me retrace my thoughts. What did I do? What did I not do? What did I do different to where now I feel this way? Okay, now I can't call mama. Let me call another friend of mine who I know will
give me some sound decision.
This is what they do for a living.
My therapist taught me, she said, now when you have those thoughts of feeling like, oh, this is just, I need to go to the ER. She say, stop. And she say, did she say like 5 minutes or whatever? She said, she said an hour. She said, let it pass. And if in an hour you have not thought about whatever you felt like you needed to go to the hospital for, it's totally something that your anxiety is making up. It's not serious. So she was like, let's just say you feel like you're having this headache to where, if it hurts anymore, you're out of here. She was like, sit there and start doing something totally different. If an hour passed and that headache that you just felt like, I can't, was finna be just taking me out of there, hadn't bothered you in an hour, it's your nerves. It's your anxiety. She was like, so I guess coming up with those new techniques, those new traditions, it really helps you to, and I wouldn't say get over the loss, because this is not what this podcast is for. We're not teaching you how to get over your loss.
No, because you'll never be over it.
Nope. We're trying to navigate.
How to respond. We talked about that a little bit too. Your responses are going to change.
Yep.
The feelings may stay the same. It may be the same intense hurt, pain, all of that you experienced on day one, but your response to it will be different. My friend Rebecca has a t-shirt. Well, not a t-shirt company, but she has a company called Your Therapeutic Journey. And one of her sweatshirts says, anxiety, present the facts. And I have to sometimes talk to the anxiety and say, okay, prove to me you telling the truth.
Yeah.
And then let me prove to you where you are a liar.
Yeah.
You know, and so those are some coping things that you have to now do as you go through this journey.
Yeah.
And so it gets different. It doesn't get better. It doesn't get easier, but every loss, every new additional thing that you have to experience, every new grief, because each time you grieve, there's going to be some additional things that you grieve. Every time you go through those things, it's going to be a process. And it gets different. To where eventually you're no longer internalizing everything in its grief. You're now able to externalize these things, and it's
morning.
It's morning. It's morning. So
it's morning.
So it's morning, Nette. It's morning. And I think ultimately, eventually we're getting there. And I hope that we have been helping you guys get to morning. So with that, I think we're going to wrap up a little bit. There's a quote that I'm going to get my phone if you guys don't mind. There's a quote that David Kessler said, and I mentioned him last time, but on his Instagram page, he did a quote that said, "Life changed without your permission. So now you have permission to change."
Yes.
So the reason I wanted to give that quote is because we talked about how do you get through, not necessarily through it, but how do you navigate these new griefs, these new additional things that you are experiencing? Well, like Nette said, give yourself grace to change. Your life changed unexpectedly. You didn't ask for it. The divorce, the loss of the job, or whatever that you're grieving, it happened abruptly or unexpectedly. So because it changed, you have permission to change as well. So give yourself permission to change.
Yeah.
Give yourself permission to do things differently, to learn some new things, to unlearn some old habits, to find new things that you enjoy. As hard as it may sound, there are going to be times that you find new things that you enjoy and you smile again.
Yeah.
And the first time you smile after you grieve is going to feel weird because you're going to ask yourself, why am I smiling?
Yeah. The audacity of me to be smiling.
How dare I smile in this time? But the more you do it, the more you smile, then the more you find it to be a little bit better. You give yourself a little bit more grace to smile again.
Yeah.
So with that, we want to just remind you to go, and if you need help learning to smile again, you can go to Psychology Today. Okay, I am going to continue to be an advocate for therapy. It works if you do the work.
Yeah.
It will work if you work it, right? So if you can't find your therapist, go to Psychology Today. We've talked about some therapists on our episode 1 and 2 before that kind of gave you some other suggestions on therapy. And some people that are great therapists that we would endorse. Find you a good therapist.
Some of our sponsors.
Some of our sponsors. And speaking of sponsors, we do want to thank our sponsors for this particular episode. Like Afronette said, Terrence Friday is our episode sponsor. We would really like to say thank you, but also to some of our other sponsors. We have Elisa Patrick McDonald, and she is a sponsor for this episode in loving memory of her husband, Perry McDonald. So she is a sponsor for our episode. We also want to thank Mr. Darrell Wilson. We also want to thank Mr. William Harrison of Sylvan Learning Center. Miss Antoinette Silas. Nigel Marinake, she is the author of her newest book. I think it's called Girl Child. So if you have not picked it up, go check her new book out, Girl Child. And then we also want to thank Sonia Carr of Hair by Sonia. Those are our March episode sponsors, and we do appreciate everybody for sponsoring and donating to us, because doing that allows us to keep this going. It allows us to keep having the space to be there for the riders of this roller coaster. And I think that's about it.
And we like to thank you guys. We appreciate you all so much. Thank you to our producer, to our assistants. Thank y'all so much. Everybody that made this podcast or is making this podcast possible. We thank you guys so much. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. And again, we'll see you in the morning.
See you in the morning. Thank you.
The pain would never end. We've come to share some hope and help you read.